Welcome to the Working Fans Podcast, episode 234, where today the man called Dave and Mr.
Uh,
W himself have a bunch of wrestling news to talk about. And AJ, how do you get the energy to talk about all this wrestling news?
Well, I personally go to w.gg. I get my one and only Calio cream. It's my favorite flavor. Tastes like a creamsicle. And I mainline that. I put it in. I sent you guys a picture this week. I make smoothies from it. I make my regular breakfast shakes with it. And it keeps me going all day long, gives me that energy without the jitters so that I can, from 6 o'clock in the morning all the way to when I'm hanging and banging in the gym at 8 o'clock at night, I'm still rocking and rolling and going. And you could do it too. Just go to w.gg, put in fans working, get your 10% off for that promo code. And then you can join us here on the Working Fans Podcast and have all the juice that'll keep you loose, baby. Woo!
Juice.
And you remember we had our Royal Rumble watch along brought to you by Game Up Hard Hydration and Wrestle Black Bar, available at Amazon.com, or message Vinny Berry on Facebook. Dave, take it away.
All right, let's start off with that Royal Rumble watch along and the Royal Rumble thoughts all together, because that's what kicked off the week. AJ, you called it. I'll give you credit on this one. You said you were looking more forward to the Women's Royal Rumble. I was looking forward to the Men's Royal Rumble because of all the stories coming out of it. But in the end, it was the Women's Royal Rumble with the debut of Jade Cargill, the TNA relationship, which we'll talk about later, with Jordynne Grace and Naomi coming back. And just I went back and actually watched the TNA. I'm sorry, the TNA. I went back and watched the Women's Rumble this week just with the commentary because I was curious. And what I didn't know, and we didn't pick up because obviously we were talking about, when Naomi came out, before Jordynne Grace even came out, they actually called her a former TNA's Knockouts champion. They said while she was gone, she won the Knockouts title, which that in itself is such a huge difference in philosophy than what we had over the last few years.
I mean, WWE's philosophy since day one has always been ignore everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So we're the only pond to go fishing in. Ignore everybody else. Let them chomp on us. It's a very refreshing to see them actually acknowledging. And this isn't the only time they've acknowledged them over the last month. With Charles Dempsey down in NXT, they made great acknowledgement of All Japan Wrestling along with their tournament. So it's a good step in the right direction for WWE.
Right. They did something a few years ago with Mickie James too, but Mickie James had that history with WWE. Jordynne Grace never did. So that was a real highlight for me. Men's Rumble, Cody won. I was excited. I would have liked Gunther in the end, but we'll talk about what happened with CM Punk first in a minute. But just your thoughts on overall the Royal Rumble.
They did some good star building in it. You made Braun Breaker look like a superstar. Still has the stupidest name in wrestling, but it made him look like a superstar. You made Omos look like a badass, as always, when he comes out, being 11 feet tall. You made them even look even more like badasses when Pat McAfee, who's never been afraid of anybody and has just jumped in the ring, thought twice about it and jumped the hell out of the ring rather than face the two of them. Yeah. Great star building. Once again, did a great job of telling Cody's story in there and really pushing it along. But it was one of the better Rumbles.
Absolutely. I agree. But let's talk about the title of the show today and this future match. CM Punk injured again. And now we're wondering, are we going to get Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes for the title at WrestleMania, especially after this speech on Monday Night Raw where Seth came out of nowhere and basically said, hey, this is turned into a workman's title. This is now the Ric Flair title. Do you want the Ultimate Warrior title? Or you want the Ric Flair title? He says, I'm here every week putting match after match. Cody, you don't want that title. You want this title.
Well, I agree. I think that Seth did a great job with that promo. Cody did a great job in response to the promo, too. But both of them did a tremendous job. Seth really pitched it. Now, I had somebody smart this week tell me that this could actually work against it, though, because this could lead Cody Rhodes to actually going, hey, wait a minute. Well, maybe I want to bring that prestige to both belts.
Right.
Maybe we want both belts to be the working ones, and maybe I can get that belt back to where it's not defended once every 4 months.
Right. And now what you're talking about is obviously the the segment, which was great. I agree. But I'm asking you now, are we going to get Cody and Seth Rollins? What's your
I
prediction?
don't think we are. That's why I was mentioning that at the end. Is somebody actually swayed me this week? It might be a man called Dave, and he makes me believe more than ever now that it's actually going to be Roman versus Cody.
And that's my opinion, folks. If you haven't, it was me and AJ on the phone, and I said I believe that what's going to happen now is Cody's going to tell Seth he was right. That he is the workman's title, but now more than ever, it's my job to add that prestige to that title that my father wanted and so many other people wanted.
But now I'm going to tell you what they've actually done. What they've done is they've set up an out just in case The Rock says yes to wrestling at WrestleMania. If The Rock says yes to wrestling at WrestleMania, now you've built it so that there's a reason for Cody to pick Seth. So this is all not hinging on Cody. This is all hinging on one man,
The Rock. And some people have speculated and wonder, with everything going on with Vince, will he be out of WrestleMania? Now, we haven't heard that yet, but before we get into the Rock, AJ, you were talking about, you've heard some other stuff coming out with Vince in this story right now, too.
Well, it was breaking today in the Wall Street Journal, and I've got to give them credit for it, obviously. The big news story out of New York today is that they are trying to go for a federal indictment, that they've opened up a case on sex trafficking with Vince McMahon due to the fact that, here's what you got to remember. Even though they're out of Connecticut, because the WWE travels and crosses state lines constantly, if he's having this young lady actually do these sexual acts with different people in different states, that has now become sex trafficking. And it's literally the textbook definition of traveling and crossing state borders for sex trafficking.
Now, all this stuff is horrific. Allegations.
It's all alleged also. By the way, Vince McMahon says he's going to fight this till the end. So right now, this is all alleged. He has not been found guilty of anything. We do want to clarify that because we don't want to come across as saying, hey, he's guilty.
What I want to get out here is now, obviously, a bad look. But he resigns, so he's out. So knowing that he's out, will it make a difference? Do you see The Rock being at WrestleMania?
I don't think it makes a difference. I think it comes down to whether or not The Rock actually feels he's ready. I don't think The Rock would come out like he did earlier this year and make the statement that he did if he doesn't feel that it's coming. Now, Rock has always said it's long-term story building. So that doesn't necessarily mean it has to happen at WrestleMania. Rock could be the special referee for Cody and Roman at WrestleMania, and that could lead to a WrestleMania match.
Your prediction is Rock is at WrestleMania.
I believe he will be at WrestleMania.
Now, let me ask you one other sidebar question here that I didn't think about until now as we're talking. If Vince hadn't resigned, do you think that would have made a difference in whether The Rock was going to be there or could have?
If he did not resign after all of this coming out, I do not believe Rock would have been there.
Right, because of his image and his...
Rock, there's no way Rock's putting himself anywhere near that.
I agree. There's no way he would have any part of this story whatsoever.
Also, if Vince didn't actually resign, I think that you would have started to see a rift between TKO, the parent company, and WWE really, really quickly.
Yeah, I think there would have been a lot worse of a situation here.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of money here. So these things seem to get worked out sometimes to a point. All right. So we started off talking about the Royal Rumble, and I wanted to bring this up. The WWE TNA relationship. Now, at the press conference, Triple H thanked TNA for loaning out Jordynne Grace and the phenomenal job she did. Do you see this being a future relationship? Do we get more interaction with WWE and TNA?
Well, Scott D'Amore also on his Twitter and on his platforms also thanked the WWE, saying what a great platform it is for Jordynne Grace to be able to be seen at the Royal Rumble, but also obviously talked about how great she did also. So it really was both companies going back and forth and being very cordial with each other. I think that it could work out great. Let's face it, for the WWE, it shows that they're willing to work with other people. For TNA, it is a chance to be seen on such a large scale. And for people to go, oh, I want to see more of this. I want to see more Jordynne Grace. Where can I find Jordynne Grace?
Absolutely. I'll say 50-50 on whether they continue this relationship. Like, there's a lot of things moving right now. There's a lot of different moving parts, but I think it's very possible that who knows? Maybe you'll see the TNA.
Well, you got now. Wait a minute. You got AEW doing a similar thing. CMLL jumped the rail on Wednesday night and beat the tar out of John Moxley.
Right. We'll get to that. I got a little bonus round coming here afterwards because we're making such good teams. But AEW's always been willing to work with partners, so I don't think that's as big a surprise. So,
yeah, but to have one of your biggest stars actually get jumped by the 4 guys and beat the crap out of is a pretty big.
I don't know why I find that funny.
Especially when you don't have a lot of big stars left.
I just think it's funny about 4 luchadors beating the shit out of John Moxley for some reason. I don't know why I find that funny.
Well, it showed me how and we'll talk about this if you want after, but it showed me how seriously they took it by who came to save them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Final scheduled segment for the day. All right, just coming out, Brock Lesnar appears he's going to be gone forever from WWE. You never say for sure forever, but right now he's being removed from the Supercard game. He's removed from the website. Any creative plans with Brock have all apparently been squashed. AJ, I'll ask you, do we see Brock Lesnar back in a WWE ring in the next 3 years?
Not unless something huge happens where he's vindicated in this. Unfortunately, they came out and they announced that the person that they were being set up with was a former UFC champion. There's only one of those in the WWE, unless in that short time that Cain Velasquez was there. That's who they're talking about. Which it could be. Hey, who do we don't know. But I don't see it happening.
No, I don't either. Hold on a second. Excuse me. I don't see that happening either. Because at the end of the day, Brock Lesnar,
Brock's also. Wait a minute. Even if you forget about the association, if you forget about what it takes to bring him in, he's been on a special contract where he's made a shitload of money for very few appearances. Now, if all of a sudden the guy is seen as a bad guy and seen as this person that nobody wants to touch, why would you give him all that money for a couple appearances a year?
Right. I don't think, and the fact that Brock is such a private guy to begin with, like, I think to me, it's just a no-brainer that he's just going to be like, all right, I'm going to take my money. Brock has said
he doesn't need it.
Give a shit about Hall of Fame. He doesn't give a shit whether it's UFC. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. He's like, he's just, here to do a job. And at the end of the day, I don't see him sticking around.
Brock Lesnar, with the way he lives, could never see another dollar from wrestling and live the rest of his life.
Yeah, I agree. So, again, maybe something much further down the road, but if things come out and it's too bad, then we won't see Brock. All right, final segment. AEW. Let's just take some AEW news and notes. AJ, you were talking about CMLL, the beatdown they put on Moxley. All right. I don't want to be critical, but at the same time, let's just be honest. And people are going to have different opinions on this, but let's gauge your interest. What's your interest in this?
So is CMLL coming to AEW? We talked about the benefits of TNA and WWE.
Right.
It's going to put eyes on TNA. It's going to make money for TNA. CMLL is already the largest wrestling organization in Mexico. Is AEW going to put any more eyes on CMLL?
Maybe some talent on the U.S. will get noticed a little more. Right.
But is it going to do any business for CMLL in Mexico?
Probably not.
All right. So CMLL, are they going to do any business for AEW in the U.S.? Is anybody in the U.S. gonna that? Now I know we're hardcore fans that love AEW. We love the wrestling. We love it. But even the way they set this up, they jumped the rail. They beat up Moxley, who is supposed to be, by the way, one of your toughest guys in the organization. Who comes out to save him? Christopher Daniels, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker. Right. These guys couldn't save a Subway sub from getting eaten on a freaking table. You didn't even send anybody worth a damn to say these guys are dangerous. If these guys are really dangerous, send out somebody worth fighting.
Now, to answer your question, would it help out like attendance wise or something? I would say maybe some areas in southern Texas, southern Mexico, maybe higher luchador reputation areas, populated areas,
Are
Mexican.
they running a lot of those areas?
Not that I'm aware of right now. They did a loop in
Nah.
Texas a while back that had some Mexican talent on, but
even right now, we talked about attendance earlier this week when we were talking about AEW.
I was going to talk about that. Yeah. So, I've been listening to other sites like Post Wrestling, Wrestling Observer, and I know Savannah, Georgia, last week for AEW had like I think 2,100 fans. This week going in, I know as of Monday or Tuesday, they only had like 1,600 fans for that Dynamite. I know the Collision, which was the lowest ever, going up against the Royal Rumble. Obviously, I think they going into that, they were at like 800 fans. These are very low numbers. And we talked about how, like, going back to some of the other established venues they've been to, areas like Chicago and stuff like that. But even those areas are lower than they once were.
But what are they offering in comparison?
Well, that's the thing. Well, so you said to me off air when we were talking about this that they don't have, and I think, we were kind of just rushing through the conversation a little bit, that maybe they don't have as much talent. MJF's gone and stuff like that. But I started thinking about it. I don't think that's quite the answer because, originally they didn't have a Bryan Danielson. Originally there was a lot of these people like an Adam Copeland, who I know maybe.
But how often are you seeing Bryan Danielson? You'll see him on Collision, don't get me wrong, but you didn't see him on Dynamite this week. You didn't see.
How is he portrayed too?
That's just it.
As a world champion, he's a top contender. He always has great matches, but nobody's put him in a world.
But here's the other difference: is the hardcore fans who tuned in at the beginning were following their hardcore wrestlers. They were following Kenny Omega. They were following Cody there. They were following the Bucks there. They were following the people to the guys who are coming in now are the guys who they've been actually cheering against in the WWE. These are hardcore wrestling fans who have always said, I can't stand the WWE. But now, Jon Moxley, WWE. Bryan Danielson, WWE. Adam Copeland, WWE. Christian Cage, WWE. How many of the homegrown stars are over and in main event spots right now?
Darby would come to mind. There's some Darby, Ricky Starks.
But the show that Darby is actually main eventing, they've sold out 20,000 tickets to.
Right. Now that's also Sting's retirement. I think that's a big part of it.
Well, yeah, if you want to give Sting some of the credit, sure.
I think I will. My question, I guess, is with these low attendance numbers, do you think it's time maybe you start considering not running as many like shows? Maybe you do a few studio shows.
Well, you're in football season is coming to an end. I'm pretty sure they don't run a lot in that Jacksonville stadium. Why not run it from Daly Place until football season starts again?
Yeah, maybe that could save some travel. That's actually a good idea. Yeah, maybe save some costs and stuff like that. And then maybe you get hot in some other markets, hopefully.
One of the other things I will point out to people who aren't aware of this, when they go into towns, they're not running the same venues that the WWE runs.
Right.
They don't run the bigger venues. They run venues that seat between 2,000 and 3,000 people.
Yeah.
They're not running 20,000 seat venues.
There have been some arenas that they've have got. They're like 10,000 seat arenas.
Yeah, but they do that on special occasions in Chicago, stuff like that. Like New Orleans this week, if you looked at Dynamite, that place looked filled to the rafters to me.
I don't know. I'd have to look. I don't know. That was a small, who knows the way it was constructed.
But that's what I'm saying. There's smaller venues. We don't know what the seating capacity is. We're looking at the ticket sales, but we're not looking at what the seating capacity is for the unit.
It can be easily looked up. So,
yeah.
But anyway, regardless, definitely it is something that's not.
I will also tell you that what they pay for their talent, except for those names that we just mentioned, is far less than what they're getting paid in the WWE. So their budget is not as high either.
We'll see. It's still expensive to run a live show every week, I would imagine. Yeah,
it definitely is. But you're also getting, they're also getting commercial money. You're getting all kinds of sponsorship. Ticket sales, like Eric Bischoff has said, ticket sales didn't mean shit to him.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he did end up going out of business.
Right. Well, I will say too, but he eliminated house shows.
Yeah.
So, that's what I was getting at. That's actually what I was kind of wondering. Like, is during they don't have house shows though.
They don't have house shows.
Yeah, maybe
you can't eliminate something that's not there.
Right. That's why I'm wondering. I think the Jacksonville idea wouldn't be bad. Maybe just eliminate going on the road as much. But whatever. I'm not Tony Khan. I don't have his budget. I don't know what he's working with. So.
Well, yeah, he's also got a billionaire's budget. He doesn't have Dixie Carter's budget.
Yeah. So we'll see. Well, all right. That's about it for this week. I will say one more thing going out. We didn't plan on this. I will say one of my favorite segments this week that we didn't talk about at all was Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. Drew McIntyre again seems to excel.
Fantastic.
As a heel. Yeah. CM Punk referencing his friend in real life who has cancer. Ended up, I thought it was an ultimate baby face here. And again, this kind of shows why, not to turn this to WWE, AEW. We were just talking about AEW struggling. This is why WWE right now, I would say, is selling out a lot of places. A lot of their performers are really cooking right now.
Well, the best storyline that I had actually seen that was on fire was Christian Cage and Adam Copeland, but we haven't seen them together since.
Well, I think those two are cooking. I think CM Punk and Drew McIntyre are cooking. But I got to tell you one other guy who was cooking. This guy, Black Bart.
Cooking beans over the campfire.
Yeah. This guy. Go ahead and run it, Joe.
Hey, all you got young wrestling fans out there, listen, old Black Bart has got a book. It's called Wrestle Black Bart. It's got some dead good stories in there about some dead good wrestlers.
Read stories of Dusty Rhodes, the Von Erich, Scott Casey, Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, Mr. Fuji, Ron Bass, Bruiser Brody, Mike Davis, the Grappler, and many others.
And I guarantee you one thing, that it'll be the best dadgum read you've had in a long, long time.
Get your book today at Russellville.com or on Amazon. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.